Universal is pulling a Minority Report, Area 15 just got declassified, and Cedar Point wants to build rides that are terrifying. This is your theme park news for the week of October 4th. You ever just get back from vacation and all you want to do is just sleep for a couple of days? That's where I'm at right now. Over at the Park Stop website, theme park badass Alicia Stella is reporting that Universal has filed patents for sensors that will detect guests with behavior issues in an attempt to make their parks a better place for all who obey their rules. The patents outline devices that could detect motion, temperature, sound, liquid, evil machinations, bad credit, depression, malaise, ennui, and the worst offense of them all, Disney adults. According to the filings, Universal has named the technology Amusement Park Interactive Guidance System. It relies heavily on machine learning, and oh my god, this is how human society ends. We thought it was going to be Skynet, but here we are, over here, having a churro, waiting for the new parade to happen so that we can yell obscenities at the actor playing Doc Brown, but the whole time, Universal is building massive death robots under our feet. This is it for us. The last thing we're ever going to see before we're rounded up and used as robot fuel is going to be the smiling face of a robotic Lou Wasserman. Oh well, it's been a good run. Variety has a new article on The Electric State, the new movie from Avengers Endgame directors Joel and Ethan Coen. Wait, that's not right. Whatever the names of those Russo brothers are, it's like the Coens. Oh, but Matt, isn't this supposed to be theme park news, not movie news? Well, guess what? This movie is about Disneyland animatronics rising up and fighting humanity to the death. How do you feel about that, comment section complainer? The sci-fi buddy comedy is about the aftermath of a robot uprising and a bunch of humans trying to find their way in the world, being led by Mr. Peanut automaton? What the hell am I even reading here? The movie stars Millie Bobby Brown, Chris Pratt, Mr. Peanut, I guess. But Matt, I thought you said this had something to do with Disneyland. Shut up, I'm getting to it. It's an alternative history where Walt Disney's early animatronics for Disneyland led to intelligent robots, and then they revolted against their creators. You love Pirates of the Caribbean? What if that redhead was trying to kill you? You like it then? Huh? Are you happy when Mr. Lincoln is trying to eat your brain? You like Disney animatronics now? Hey, didn't The Simpsons do this? Disneyland Paris is getting a new nighttime show thing with the projections and the songs, the fireworks, and probably drones. You know, that whole sentence felt like it was written by uneducated AI, but it's on the teleprompter, so I'm going to say it. Who's the dumb one now? I respect our robot overlords. The new show starts on January 10th, 2025. So it has a date, but they haven't named it yet? I can help out with this. Let me just fire up the old Disney Nighttime Spectacular name generator. Let me pretend to hit buttons over here. Okay, pretending done. And here we go. Here's the new name. The new show will be called The Magical World of Rope Drop Disney Adult Fantasy Happiness in the Sky, Illuminating Journey of Wish Togetherness. Nailed it. AI is going to take all of our jobs. Turns out Las Vegas is not coming to Orlando after all. Area 15, the immersive entertainment complex, has canceled plans to open a second location in Orlando. Area 15 made an internal business decision to walk away from the project after realizing that they had picked a city with 218 different theme parks. When asked about the cancellation, a completely fictional, made-up inside source told us, "It's pretty embarrassing, but when we bought the land, we had never heard of Disney World, Universal, or SeaWorld. After a quick Google search, we realized we had made a huge error in planning. Except for SeaWorld, I think we can compete with SeaWorld." If you're wanting to experience Area 15, you're going to have to head to Vegas, which isn't the worst plan because you can also visit Meow Wolf's Omega Mart and eventually check out that year-round Halloween Horror Nights attraction that Universal is building. I think that's a pretty good deal. Oh, and also gambling and strip clubs. Something for the whole family. Ohio's Cedar Point has announced a new coaster for 2025, and I'd rather stand in line to be shot in the leg than to ride this thing. Siren's Curse is being called the tallest, longest, and fastest tilt coaster. What's a tilt coaster? Apparently the track breaks off and tilts down to a 90-degree vertical plunge in what can only be an attempt to make riders crap their pants. The 2-minute ride will reach speeds of 60 miles per hour and stretches 160 feet into the air. Look, I can barely handle Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. I mean, look at this on-ride photo. Does this look like the face of someone who can handle anything more intense than that? Also, does it look like the face of someone that's going to actually pay for Disney's photo pass? And nice try, Disney, but I'm okay with the watermark. Not going to stop me from framing it. Siren's Curse opens sometime in 2025, and I will not be there. I'm freshly back from Orlando, and that can only mean one thing. I need to do laundry. See, guys, I told you that joke would work. It's not hack at all. I also need to take a look at all of the Horror Nights houses and rank them to see how they all stacked up to what I predicted before HHN season. Let's call this segment Arbitrary Ranking. This year's event is incredibly fun, but if you want to go in cold, then bookmark this and come back later because there's going to be a few spoilers involved. But I know you guys, you've probably tuned off well before this. Let's start with number 10. Number 10, Dead Coconuts Club. And that's right. My number 10 house is Dead Coconuts Club with its 80s vibe and dancing vampires. And is that a vampire slash over there in the corner being cool? Loved hanging out here way more than the house that it's replacing. But I guess I better give you my real number 10. My real number 10, Triplets of Terror. I was totally pulling for this house. I didn't want to hate it. And I'm not really sure if I hated it. I just didn't feel anything for it, which might actually be worse. I had high hopes for the true crime podcast aspect, but it felt like that was just one room very early on and then nothing. It's short, it's uninteresting, nothing here to get excited about, and what makes it worse is that I felt like it was a decent run through. No missing scares, just not a very imaginative house where if they really leaned into the true crime podcast element harder and used it in tandem to the scares and design, then they might have had something amazing. But as it stands, not great. It did have one thing going for it, and I really wonder if that was actually a detriment in the end. The facade was awesome, very visceral with the rain and the cop car, red and blue police lights flashing. It sets the stage for a much better experience. I asked our tour guide about it, and he said that they were looking at a slasher IP and decided that they could do better on their own with an original. I can only imagine that the slasher IP they were looking at was Babe Pig in the City. Also, they should probably look into that one for next year. All right, let's look at my prediction for number 10 on my hype list. I had Triplets of Terror. Hey, 1 point for me. Number 9, The Museum Deadly Exhibit. Triplets was the only house that I didn't care for. The other 9 houses I enjoyed, but that doesn't make for a great list. So for whatever reason, this is just how the cards fell. The museum had a lot of elements that I loved. It felt like a museum with its information desk, the little exhibit cards, set design. All of it was very cool. For me, though, I was never really scared. It just felt like a nice walk through a rotting museum. In fact, the more I think about it, the less I even remember about it. This is like Schrodinger's haunted house. Did I even do it? Does it even exist? Do I even exist? Oh man, I'm having an existential crisis. This house has caused an existential crisis, and maybe that's the true horror of the museum. But what did past Matt think would be at number 9? Insidious. What? I don't even know who the person that would put Insidious at number 9 is anymore. Holy crap, this entire entry is questioning all that I know of who I was and who I have become. I think I just went cross-eyed. Number 8, A Quiet Place. This is 100% a case of increased hype and expectation causing a lower rank. I was exposed to too much of Universal's marketing and was expecting, I don't know, like some kind of completely unique experience that had never been done before. Ultimately, it was just a well-done IP house. What I wanted was something completely quiet that reacted to any sound I made. So basically, I was looking for something that is totally impossible to deliver on, and I should have done a better job of reminding myself of that. The animatronic monsters are pretty cool though, and there's a room that's partially flooded that was beautiful. All of the sets were gorgeous, really. I do wish that the ASL had been used a little more frequently and more obviously. It's a great idea and an amazing use of inclusion. But it's going to set at 8 for me, and I've come to terms with that. Past Matt predicted Monstruos to the number 8 spot. Well, it wasn't, was it? Stupid Past Matt being wrong all the time. Number 7, Slaughter Sinema 2. How the hell did this happen? It's the sequel to one of my all-time favorites. This should have been a slam dunk. What went wrong? Nothing. It's a great house. I didn't have a great run and missed pretty much every scare, so that's on me. I also didn't connect to these movies as much as I did the original house. Some of the titles were awesome, but it didn't hit me the same way. Still, it's all fun, and I wish I had done it again because it definitely felt off to me. I wonder what was in this spot on the hype list. The museum. I don't think that was too far off. Still a little bit shocked to be putting Slaughter Sinema 2 this low, but it's an interesting dichotomy between my hype versus reality. Number 6, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. How the hell did this happen? It's my favorite movie franchise. Hey, this one is way easier to explain. Slimer was just a static puppet stuck on a pole for me. Guess the puppeteer was out on a break, having a smoke or something. No Vigo just wasn't there. In fact, none of the ghosts in that containment hallway were there. I don't know what the hell was up with that Ray. He looked like he worked at Publix. In fact, I think he was wearing a Publix name tag, but at least it said Ray, so maybe I'm making too much out of it. The good? All of those delicious looking Stay Puft Marshmallow Men. And there's a tunnel that's dripping with ooze, literally dripping water on you. Love that. The Garaka scares were great, especially since they seem to use a lot of misdirection. Think that fireman is the scare? Nope, there's a giant Garaka on your right. Taking in the sights of that 20-foot tall firehouse. That's Garaka! Great sets. Enjoyed it better than the movie. Just wished a few key elements had come together for me so that I could put this higher. As it stands, there are 5 houses I just flat out enjoyed more. Past Matt thought that Goblin's Feast would be here. Well, it's not. Why am I yelling at my younger self like that? Is this why my self-esteem is in the toilet? Number 5, Major Suites. I love Major Suites. I love that it's a prequel happening the day before the Scare Zone. If it had just been the front half of this house, it would have ranked higher. I really loved the storytelling, and I just hit that, and that needs to go back there. I really love the storytelling, and the girl with the taffy head. There's a room at the beginning with a projector showing the candy being tested on kids, but it's constantly being obscured because they route the line between the projector and the screen. It's little design touches like that that were all over this house. The factory is full of rats, and all of the rat traps have candy in them. My only real negative here is that the back half gets very warehousey, which makes sense because it's a warehouse. To me, it was slightly repetitive. But definitely a better use of the Fast and Furious queue than previous years, especially last year. Wait, you know what? Let me fix that statement. Definitely a better use of the Fast and Furious queue than its intended purpose, which is getting you on Fast and Furious Supercharged. On the hype list, I had Major Suites. Yeah, that's a love connection. I got 2 right, and that's a passing grade as far as I'm concerned. Number 4, Monstruos. Monsters of Latin America. I was not expecting to like this house as much as I did. Obviously, since I had it at number 8 on my hype. The sets were just gorgeous, from the modern village to the bar where Il Sabon was stalking his victims. This is another example where setting the mood with great design is going to make such a big difference in a haunted house. What probably earned this house a spot here more than anything else was that final scare. As I was exiting through the door, a final Il Sabon on stilts scared me so perfectly that I thought it had finally happened, that I had been scared into a heart attack. Sure, bad habits would have been primarily to blame, but that last scare was intense and impeccably timed, and I loved every second of it. A Quiet Place was sitting at number 4 on the hype list, so yep, hype is a powerful thing. Number 3, Universal Monsters Eternal Bloodlines. Going into this, I had read a lot of disappointed posts and lackluster opinions. Well, the opinions at the house was lackluster. Not that the opinions were lackluster. You know what? I'm over-explaining again, aren't I? Is this a case where lowering my expectations led to more enjoyment? Yes. Yes, it did. Whenever I leave a thing super excited because I didn't hate it, then it's definitely going to lead to increased enjoyment. I'm a sucker for story, and this house definitely had a story. I'm not even sure that the story entirely works, but I'm fine with it. I love the bride, and I really like Saskia Van Helsing, even though she doesn't have the happiest of ending here. The cool remaining carts were outstanding pieces of folk art. The daisy chain scares, the bungee work, it all hit for me. It's really awesome that we have a loosely connected story house that evolves year after year, and I'm excited to see what happens next. Even though it's totally going to eventually be a Frankenstein Saskia being brought back to life. You can bet on that. Ghostbusters held the 3rd spot on the hype list. Checks out. Solid number 3 that just didn't work out for me. Number 2, Goblin's Feast. I'm just as surprised as you are. Probably more surprised because I'm not a huge fantasy fan. This house was more fun than Ghostbusters. It was a cool concept, and there's some great Easter eggs, like the facade banner that hides the true nature of the building. Giants, goblins, farts. This house has it all. You're constantly moving through different environments, so it's hard to get bored. I thought there were a few rooms that were incredibly well crafted and jaw-dropping. Not the scariest thing ever, but I'm sure that there's a house on this list that's scary enough for the entire event. Sometimes all you need is a ton of charm to make it in this world, and that's what Goblin's Feast is. It's a car salesman / game show host that before you even realize what's happened has conned you into signing over power of attorney. Is it really the number 2 house? I have no clue, but it told me to tell you guys that, and who am I not to trust a goblin? But what about number 2 on the hype list? Slaughter Sinema 2. Okay. Number 1. Insidious, The Further. How the hell did this happen? A franchise I don't really care about. Movies that I don't think I've even stayed awake through. I haven't even bothered to watch the 3rd and 4th movies. What is even going on? I'll tell you what's going on. This is one of the scariest houses I've ever been through. I have never felt more unease walking through a Horror Nights house. It's just unsettling. There's a psychological component to the design of the house that's imperceptible. It's a mood or a funk, or maybe it's some sort of voodoo magic. It really is that scary. The thing is, as far as visual design, I'd probably put all these houses above it. But all of the elements come together like some sort of horror Voltron to scare your pants off. The way that the red door seems to get bigger and bigger as you approach it. The way that sets change as the lightings change. It's a triumphant scary house design and is honestly worth the high wait times. Hey, it probably makes the whole entire trip worth it. There could be 9 other houses that just sucked like a USA Today's scariest theme park events list, and I'd still be leaving at 2 in the morning thinking about how amazing HHN is this year. I think the house is going to be talked about as one of the greatest of all time. It really makes you appreciate how good Universal Creative is getting when it comes to the world's premiere Halloween event. You hear that, USA Today? The number 1. Can't believe this sat at number 9 on my hype list. What was my number 1? Universal Monsters. That's because you're stupid, past Matt. Present Matt thinks you're stupid. What a great time to be alive. Another year of Halloween Horror Nights. Is there a better time of year? No, there is not. If you haven't been yet, then get down there and get scared. Man, another heck of a show, right? And don't forget to subscribe and get notified when new content drops every week. Come back next week and we'll do it all again, but with different topics and stuff. Look, I'm not going to just run the same show again. That would be insane. Who am I talking to?